This parking lot in Queens used to be one of the largest rat-infested dumps in New York City and is now slated to become a massive sports and entertainment complex. But what happened here and how did it change so radically?
Right now, we are at the parking lot of Citi Field, which is the home of the Mets.
Nestled between the Queens neighborhoods of Corona and Flushing, surrounded by a web of highways and transit. However, this used to look very different when the first European settler came over in 1644. Back then, it was a sprawling salt marsh. These grasslands along the coast were prone to flooding by seawater, so think muddy, swampy, and lots of mosquitoes.
But the days of Flushing Creek being a quaint, quiet salt marsh were numbered. One of New York City's most successful contractors had sites upon this land.
And where most people saw mosquitoes and mud, he saw dollar signs. Michael Degnan helped build the Williamsburg Bridge, the Long Island Railroad Terminal in Brooklyn, and huge swaths of the subway system. He had a vision to make this into the city's premier port and industrial hub. It was an ambitious plan that would require reclaiming marshland into usable industrial land. Plans were already underway until America entered World War I, and the nation halted all large-scale construction projects not related to the war effort. In 1916, Degnan's plan for an industrial Flushing came to a close. But he had to do something with these vast parcels of land.
In 1909, he had a deal with the Brooklyn Ash Removal Company in order to bring in ash and street sweepings,
which actually meant horse manure in order to reclaim the marshland. But why ash? Well, back in the early 1900s, it was a fact of everyday life in the rapidly industrialized city. Furnaces in homes to factories and everything in between left over tons and tons of ash. It had to be dumped somewhere. The problem was that people and companies weren't so diligent in separating garbage, so the ash was often mixed in with trash, rotting food, and other unspeakable things. A mound of ash up to 100 feet high stood here. It was dubbed Mount Corona, but even more gross were the swarms of rats. Even F. Scott Fitzgerald immortalized the Corona ash dump in his classic novel, The Great Gatsby. Lo and behold, New Yorkers had enough. It became a parking lot for the World's Fair of 1939 and 1964, and then later on became the home of the Mets, Shea Stadium. And Citi Field replaced the aging Shea Stadium. What is the future of this former swampland turned ash dump turned parking lot? Well, a project called Metropolitan Park, headed by Mets owner Steve Cohen, is one step closer to becoming a reality. It's a massive sports and entertainment complex that may transform this land once again.
Stay curious, my friends.